Welcome to the web design series by Tech Fantasy. Today we are going to learn how to create a website within a month. So if you follow these tutorials well, you're going to be a good web designer. But before we start, let's give a big thanks to W3 Schools for giving us a good resource. So with this resource, you can learn web design very simple, and they have all the editors to help you to learn, even if you don't have any editor on your PC. So that's what we are going to use. We're going to use this website, W3 Schools, to help us in this website designing. But before we start, one of my friend told me if you are not a spider, you can't create a web page. I'm just kidding though. I'm just kidding. Okay, so we are going to start with the HTML home, and this is going to be an intro section. So basically, HTML is a markup language for web pages. So as you know, any web page you see is made up of HTML. So there are a lot of examples that we are going to try in this series. So this is an example of an HTML. That's a good example. So we're going to find out which of each element, the meaning of each element. Right now, I think you are just seeing stars, or you don't understand if you're an amateur, but don't worry, we'll explain everything and you understand everything. Okay, so there are a lot of exercises that we are going to take in this course too as well, and there are also a lot of quizzes too as well. So don't worry, it's going to be an interactive course. Okay, now let's go to our intro. So when we say HTML, what does it mean? So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So that's the full meaning of HTML. So whenever you see HTML, it stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it's just the language for creating web pages. So it's like you creating a dish like a pizza or like a bread. So when you're creating a bread or when you're preparing a bread, you need a flour. So the same thing applies to a web page. When you're creating a web page, the language is HTML. So the language describes the structure of your web page. And also an HTML consists of a series of elements. So you are going to see all those elements as well. And also the HTML displays how the website is going to be like. So the HTML is like a skeleton, or it's like a blueprint. When you're building a house, you need a blueprint or you need a plan before you build a house. So that's the HTML. So as we said earlier, this is an example of an HTML. So we have the doc type HTML. This is the first tag. Then we have our HTML tag open here. We have our head. Then we have our title. And also this is the closing tag for the head. Then we have our body. This is the closing tag for the title. Then we have our H1, closing tag for H1. And we have the P in the closing tag for the P, and the closing tag for the body, and now the closing tag for HTML. So this is the explained example over here. So the first one we saw, the doc type, it's declaration defines that this HTML is an HTML5 document. So HTML5 is the latest HTML. So this means it's an HTML5. Then the HTML element is the root element of the HTML page. That's fine. Also, the head element contains meta information about the web page. Then the title element specifies the title for the HTML page, which is shown in the browser's title bar or on the page. So this is our title. This is our title. Yeah, the top over here is our title. Yeah. Also, we have the body element. It defines the document body as a container for all the visible content, such as the heading, paragraph, images, hyperlinks, tables. Yeah. So the body is where everything goes on. So this is our body. I think let me highlight. All this consists of the body. Yeah. So the videos, the text, the fonts, everything goes in the body. And also we have the H1. The H1 element defines a large heading, and the P element defines a paragraph. So paragraph for P and H1 for a heading. Okay, so what is an HTML element? An element is defined by a start tag, some content, and an end tag. So let me tell you one rule in HTML. Whenever you open a tag, you have to close the tag. So that's one rule you have to keep in mind. If you don't close your tag, you're going to see errors, or it's going to give you some funny mistakes. So that's one rule in HTML. Yeah. When you open, you close. When you open, you close. Then the content goes in the middle. So this is the opening tag, and this is also the closing tag. So the HTML element is everything from the start tag to the end tag. So for example, H1, my first header or my first heading, then you close the tag. Then the P for paragraph, my first paragraph, you close the tag. Yeah. So that's the first rule. When you open a tag, you close the tag. But some tags don't have a closing tag. Example is the BR. The BR means break. It doesn't have any end tag, so it's just BR. It's just BR. Yeah. Okay. So now let's go to web browsers. So what's a web browser? Because definitely you've used a web browser before. So the web browser, example, we have Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Safari. We have a lot, but these are the popular ones. So what a web browser does is it displays the HTML documents. That's what a browser does. That's that's basically what a browser does. Yeah. But note something here, a browser does not display the HTML tags. So what it's trying to say is, you see these tags over here, this H1, closing of this H1, this P, closing of this P. A browser doesn't need to display that. We don't need that. All we need is the content, this my first paragraph or my first heading. That's all we need. We don't need that tags in our web browsers. Yeah. So there's a local web page over here, my first heading and my first paragraph. So this is the structure of any HTML page. So this is the HTML, this is the head, then this is the title. So as I told you earlier, this is the title. Then you close your head, you close your title too as well. Then this is the body. So everything goes in the body. Everything goes. So the body is the main side where everything goes. Then you close your body, then your HTML. So still remember the first two. Whatever you open, you have to close. Whatever you open, you have to close. Yeah. So let's look at a brief history of HTML. Then we bring today's session to an end. So it all started in 1989 by Tim Berners. He invented the www. Then it went through 1991, 93, 95, 97. So 97, we have the W3C recommended HTML3. Then it went up to 2014, we got the HTML5. Then 2017, we got the HTML 5.2. So that's the current one we are using, 5.2. Yeah. So that's it for today. In our next section, we'll be going to HTML editors. So keep what you've learned in mind and keep practicing. But in our next tutorial, we're going to do more practice. Thank you for now.